It's been another fast-moving week in the impeachment inquiry against President Trump. Here's a look at the key events that have unfolded over the last 7 days. Last Friday, September 27th, House Democrats issued the first subpoenas as part of the impeachment inquiry, targeting Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and 5 other State Department officials. Kurt Volker, the former U.S. envoy to Ukraine, is among them. That night, we learned Volker had resigned from the State Department. On Saturday, the president remained defiant on Twitter and posted this video message to his followers.
What's going on now is the single greatest scam in the history of American politics.
On Sunday, CBS News releases a new poll showing 55% of Americans support an impeachment inquiry, though it is sharply divided along party lines. And that divide was on full display on 60 Minutes that Sunday night when Scott Pelley interviewed House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
I've never seen one talking point from a White House. I'm talking to you based upon the most important facts we have.
It was wrong for a president to say that he wants another head of state, to create something negative about his possible political opponent to his own advantage.
On the morning of Monday, September 30th, the president sharpened his attack on the whistleblower.
I made a call. The call was perfect. When the whistleblower reported it, he made it sound terrible.
Then in the afternoon, there's another deluge of developments. The president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, has issued a subpoena. Then the Wall Street Journal reports Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was on the July 25th call between President Trump and the president of Ukraine. Almost simultaneously, the New York Times reports President Trump pressed the Australian Prime Minister to help Attorney General William Barr investigate the origins of the Mueller probe. On Monday night, Rudy Giuliani goes on TV to answer questions about whether he will cooperate with a subpoena.
Oh, I don't know. I'm weighing the alternatives. I'll kind of like go through it. I'll get all my evidence together. I'll get my charts. I don't know if they let me use videotapes and tape recordings that I have, if they let me get some of the evidence that I gathered.
On Tuesday, October 1st, the president continues his attack on the whistleblower, this time asking why the White House should not be entitled to interview his accuser and the person who gave him or her false information. Hours later, Secretary Pompeo fires back at House Democrats, accusing them of trying to bully his staffers to testify. He tells Democrats his people will not comply with the subpoena. That defiant statement was followed up with this admission from Pompeo on Wednesday morning.
As for was I on the phone call, I was on the phone call.
Hours later, on Wednesday morning, House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff responds to Pompeo and the administration with this warning.
We want to make it abundantly clear that any effort by the Secretary, by the President, or anyone else to interfere with the Congress's ability to call before it relevant witnesses will be considered as evidence of obstruction of the lawful functions of Congress.
And just a few hours later, the New York Times reports the whistleblower had contacted a House Intelligence Committee aide prior to filing the complaint. The president seizes on this news.
Well, I think it's a scandal that he knew before. I'd go a step further. I think he probably helped write it.
The Intelligence Committee responds by saying it did not review the complaint ahead of time. In that same press conference, the president said he would cooperate with a subpoena before ripping everyone from the press to the whistleblower.
And if you look at this, whistleblowers, which I have a lot of respect for whistleblowers, but only when they're real. Look, Biden and his son are stone cold crooked, and you know it. His son walks out with millions of dollars. The kid knows nothing. Nancy Pelosi hands out subpoenas like, she has to approve it. She hands out subpoenas like they're cookies. It's a whole hoax. And you know who's playing into the hoax? People like you and the fake news media that we have in this country. And I say in many cases, the corrupt media, because you're corrupt.
And that leads us to today, Thursday, October 3rd. The president, as defiant as ever, once again urged investigations into Joe Biden. And this time, he's not just asking Ukraine.
China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine.
The attack on Biden was then repeated by a new voice today, Vice President Mike Pence.
I think is worth looking into, and the president made it very clear that he believes our other nations around the world should look into it as well.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, Kurt Volker did appear for his scheduled deposition. The Washington Post reports Volker said he told Giuliani that Ukrainian claims of Biden's misconduct were not credible. Few details were made available about the deposition, but that didn't stop Republican lawmakers from saying Volker's remarks undermined the impeachment inquiry.
The argument in favor of and the allegations of quid pro quo basically today just blew a massive hole throughout the entirety of that argument.